go. Yep, good to go. All right. I see one of those. I see one of those. I see that kid. I see that kid. I see that. I do not see that kid. I see that kid. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. No, that one's there. He's back. That one's here. That one's gone. It's here. That one's here. That one's here. That one's here. That one's here. 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 And here. Cool. All right, y'all got your notes and your calculator on hand? We didn't finish, so no daily quiz. We're just going to hop back in. Okay. When we left, we were fighting through this. Do you have the same calculator that you used last time? If you have the same calculator, theoretically, all your data should still be there. And we can finish this off. Do you have the same one? Everyone hit graph. And if we haven't changed anything, if you haven't monkeyed with anything, if you have not used anything else, the last thing we had was a scatter plot.
We didn't get the line in there.
Okay. So I'll go back and get rid of this fella right here. So, who does not have this? This is also why you should grab the same calculator every day, just in case. All right. So we're starting to fight through how do I get data in here, so that maybe that'd just be a good place to start. Everyone, reset your calculator. How do you reset? Second plus 7. Enter. 2. Or second plus 7, 12. 7, 1, 2. Okay. Then we had this as a scatter plot. We were about to get the perfect line. And then, yeah. So, let's try instead, all the way back to the beginning. Go down to got it 1. Number of hours you spend online the day before a test. The scores on the tests. Weren't we talking about correlation? I would assume that the more time you spend online, now this is also an old book, so at the time this book was published, spending time online probably didn't mean watching any educational video, having your online textbook open, having any of it. It was just purely, in the minds of the publishers of this book, probably meant going on to good old MSN Messenger, like circa 2001. We need to put some data in. How do I get data into my calculator? No. We wrote down the steps. Stat. Edit. Enter your data. Before I go entering data, I should probably write on here what I'm going to define as my x's and y's, my independent and dependent variables. Does it make more sense that your score depends on how much time you wasted, or how much time you waste depends on what you're going to get on the test? Score depends on how much time you waste, right? So we're going to label this as X and Y, list 1 and list 2. In list 1, I'm going to put all of those. We got 0, 0, 1, 1. Frank's being a little better behaved today. He got a good night's sleep. Oh, no, that's 1.5. I gotta double check my numbers here since Frank gets pretty laggy. Okay, I saw 100, 94, 98, 88, 92, 89, 75, 70, 8, 2, 7, 60. All right. So everyone confirm for me, you have 12 X's and 12 Y's. Double check your numbers. Make sure they're correct. No Homer Simpson fat finger syndrome. We all got it good? Okay. Once I have the data in, oh, I see a goof. 2 and not 7, although I have seen that on a test before. What was that one supposed to be, between 89 and 70? 75? Okay. Frank's a little picky. I got all the data. I now want a scatter plot. Second, right above y equals is your stat plot. I can turn plot 1 on. I can make it a scatter plot or other stuff. We don't do that yet. I make sure it's the right lists. And then, what? Because if I just hit graph and be like, yo, show me stuff, it says, nah. Okay. Now I can manually change my window to say X's, amount of time that we spent online. What was the lowest?
0.
What was the highest? 5. So maybe I go from like 0 to I want to show a little bit more. Well, maybe 10 works. 7? No. Oh, you know what? 8. You'll spend an entire work shift online. Bad. And what about my Y's? What should I go by?
Probably 0 to 5.
You could start at probably 50.
Right? I don't have to start at 0. So 50 to 100. Do any of you have a teacher that does that? The I won't assign a 0? Like the lowest it'll go is a 50? Do you have any teachers who do that? Okay. Because y'all know how averages work, right? You probably had the talk from, what, Mr. Sire, back freshman year? Look, even if you only got 3 things filled out, turn it in.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is a difference between getting a 45 on something and a 0. And it can add up. So even if you're not done, even if you know you're going to fail it, even if you know that this is just a giant dumpster fire, I'm going to turn this in because it's something. Because zeros have so much weight to them when I do averages. Okay, I'm just curious. Scale, maybe I'll change mine to go by tens. And I graphify. If I have a stat plot and then I've manually changed my window, I should get exactly what the graph would look like if I put it right here. Right? If my x-axis, if we had gone from 50 to 100, going by 5s, if I had gone from 0 to 10, going by 1s, we should have ended up with that same graph, ballpark. What was another way that we learned so I don't have to manually change my window? Okay? If you didn't write this down yesterday, make a big honking note about it now. Zoom stat will zoom to my statistics, but only if my stat plot is on. That should make sense, right? If I don't have a stat plot, it won't zoom to my stats. Okay? So I can always do that. Zoom to my plot. And it'll always just boop, narrow in the window perfectly. And I go and look at that window and see, well, they went from 0 to 5 and change to fit everything. They went from about 50 to 100. Okay? So we wrote down all that stuff. We know how to get data in. We know how to get a scatter plot on our screen. To get the line, there is an algorithm that I hope your Algebra 1 teachers never made you do. It finds the distance between all the points. Like, it takes all of your x's and all of your y's and subtract them from the average value. So it effectively finds standard deviation of a line. And that's something you don't even see till the end of Algebra 2. It's a gross formula. Good thing I got a calculator that's going to do it for me. I want you to get used to where this is. Stat. I will calculate, and there's all different types of regression here. We're actually going to see a good chunk of these this year. Linear regression. Doesn't this ax plus b look kind of familiar? Y equals mx plus b. If I go to linear regression on the TI-84s, it's going to get this cute little pop-up menu. On the Casios, I think it just says regression is one of the options at the bottom line, I think. Or maybe, is it regression or calc? Calc, okay. So, like, it's menu based, but you still should be able to get to the same line. There you go. REG is regression. On the 36X Pro, you can just, remember when we hit that data, or it's stat regression? You can scroll down through there, and it's going to have. Now, you won't be able to graph your line on a scientific, but you can still get the equation of the line to work with. On the 83s, no cute pop-up menu, you're just going to see lin, reg, blink, 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 blink. Okay? Blinky is over here saying, I am going to default to list 1, list 2, no frequency list, and not storing anything. So if you want to store this, this is the cool part of the graphing calculator, is, yeah, Chad can make you can make the function, but you don't get the graph. On the graphing calculator, I get to make the graph of it without having to write it down. If you would with me. Variables. The y's. Okay, variables right next to clear. variables, the y's, the function, wherever you want it. Okay? Variables, the y's, the function, and then whichever one you want it to be in. Because we will eventually graph multiple of these on the same screen. Like we'll put a line, a quadratic, a cubic, and a quartic all on the same screen so we can compare them. All right. I've done the thing. Now I hit calculate. Okay, when I hit calculate, y'all are young, you got good eyes. I want you to watch up here what it says. It's going to blink fast, but watch what it says. Linreg, list 1, comma, list 2, comma, y1. It was really fast. Okay, it will say linreg, list 1, comma, list 2, comma, y1. If you're running an 83, like James, that's what it defaults to, but it doesn't have the y1 on there. So if you want to store this, you're just going to have to do that y1 business I got written at the bottom. Oh, wow. This is like 4th hour all over again. I need to make sure we're more careful writing this. Yo.
So if I brought up that y1, that's how you store it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's defaulting to list 1, list 2. You're just saying, all right, put it here. Okay? Now, why would that matter? I just got an equation. The equation says y is negative 7.91x plus 98.05. Oh, if we're going to do it right, let's do it right. Y is approximately this. It tells me A and B. It tells me what the coefficient and the constant are. In this case, my slope and my y-intercept. You can say, well, I got the equation. Why did I have to do this store stuff? Okay, everyone come back and hit y equals. By hitting store, you don't lose anything. What happens when these decimals are a mile long? What happens when I do this and it's a quartic regression, degree 4? Now it has A, B, C, D, and E. And they're all decimals a mile long. Do you really want to type that? Or you can just hit store and it'll dump it in there for you. Okay, it keeps it perfect. Because now when I hit that graph, y1 is graphed. It'll put the perfect line through there. You notice it didn't hit any points? Wasn't our trend line, we said hit 2 points, about the same on both sides? That's a trend line. This is the perfect line. If I were to find, go back to geometry, if I were to take this distance, remember perpendicular lines, this distance perpendicular, this distance perpendicular, this distance, this distance, this distance. When I averaged it out, it should be an average of 0 as much, or everything on this side and this side. Because you'd have both positive numbers and negative numbers. And they would all average out as this is right smack in the middle. Okay? And it does it for you. So once you have it, you can start answering questions. Like, the table shows blah, 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 blah. How would you describe the correlation? Well, negative correlation. Say it more with some more words. As the number of hours online increases, your test score decreases. Y'all, especially with the number of juniors that we get in here, I can tell when there's a chemistry test because kids get squirrely. I'll get a whole conga line of kids come down here to steal the fidgets, borrow a calculator, and then the next day everyone's complaining. Okay? Did you prepare? Were you spending a lot of time dinking around online? Or did you get a good night's sleep? Did you get breakfast? Okay? Take care of yourself. Best thing you can do isn't stay up until 1 a.m. cramming. It's get a good night's sleep. Use the graph. How much would you expect to pay for? Oh, yeah, that was the one before. What if I came up with something here and I said, now, what if I spent 3.5 hours online? What could I expect for my test score? No, you're just winging it. You're estimating. We got an equation. Yo, I just said I spent 3.5 hours online. Can't you put that in for X now? You can find exactly what it is based on this model. On average, this is what I can expect. Now, you can manually enter that. You can go all the way back to this window and give me a ballpark of negative 7.91 by 3.5 hours plus 98.05. I can plug 3.5 hours in for X because now I have the perfect equation. About a 70 based on the model, and the model is the perfect line. There's an easier way to do that. This is why we're learning how to use the calculator. And go back to that graph. Next to graph, you'll see the button that says trace. Hit trace. Look at the top of it, top of the screen. What is it tracing right now? The plot. It's tracing through my data. So if I arrow over, it's just going to ping pong through all of my data points. This is another way to check if your data points are close to where they're supposed to be. But if I arrow down, it'll switch between the functions. Now I'm on the line at 2.5. So I can manually just keep poking Blinky here and send Blinky over to about 3.5, or I could just type 3.5 and it'll tell me the exact amount. I can trace my function straight to the answer. I don't actually have to think. I don't have to type. I just press button and it gives me answer. Okay? So turbo version through this. Second, memory. Nope, I don't want all that. Second quit. Y equals. Clear. Okay, second stat plot. Plots off. Okay, so I'm starting back at square one. I know this is iffy because we're first learning it. Right now, if I'm starting at bare bones, how do I put data in? Stat, edit, start typing. I've got stuff. Now, how do I get my stat plot? Second y equals brings up my stat plot. Turn plot one on, make sure it's the right list, make sure it's a scatter plot. Cool. I now have a scatter plot. I want it to be the perfect window. Zoom straight to those statistics. Okay. I want the perfect line. Walk me through. The perfect line, we wrote it down. Stat, calculate, linear regression. Make sure it's the stuff. I want it to store the equation for me. Variables, the y's, the function, y1. Okay, who in here's got a TI-84 plus or better? Alpha shortcuts. Alpha, trace, brings up shortcut menu of those. Okay, you don't. Okay, so you just have to go through the variables, the function, right? Once it's there, once it's blinking after your linear regression, just hit enter. And everyone should have that on their screen. TI-84 or 3.
I lost my Y1. How do I get it back?
Variables, y's, function, y1. See, TI is kind of rough because you have to keep going through different lists like that. Whereas Casio's, they're all like picture box menus. And, oh god, those are slick. Like those. So I get the equation, I stored the equation. Now, if I zoom to those stats, if I look at my graph, my data, this line will go straight through them. And I want to find trace. Now look at what happens if I say, all right, find if I have exactly 4 hours of sleep, or sleep. 4 hours online. Okay, look at what's going to happen if I hit 4. It quit on me. Okay, it quit because when I hit trace, look at what I'm on. I am tracing the plot right now. So if I try to trace to 4, well, it should be trying to go to my data point. But you don't like just hop and skip around your data points like that. I don't want to be on my plot. I want to be arrow down. I want to be on my line and go to 4. What if I tried to extrapolate? What if I wanted to go further? I said, what if I'm online for 10 hours? I get home, it's 3:30. I got my plate full of pizza rolls. I miss pizza rolls. Okay. I got my plate full of pizza rolls. I got a 2-liter of Mountain Dew. Headset on, let's go. And you don't go to bed until 3 in the morning. Okay. Now, we'll say that we had a little bit of breaks in there. You gotta, take care of yourself, right? If I try to trace right now out, say, 10 hours, watch what happens. Error. Look at what it's saying. Attempted to use a variable or a function where it's not valid. You tried to say 10 where you can't say 10. Because our window isn't big enough. I'll say go to, and it's going to come down here and say, yo, this isn't right. Because my window right now, my x's only go out to 5.5. So I would have to make my window bigger in order to see what's going on. Shoop. Now I'm tracing to where x is a to where x is a 10. I don't actually need to see the y. I just need to see x equals 10. Sounds about right. I had a kid who ran through pre-calc 3 times. had a conversation with mom. You know, she's trying to say, you know, you're ruining my son's life. Why he never does this? And turns out he was up until all hours of the night playing Rocket League, trying to sign up for some team in Germany. Like, bud, we've been here before. Why are you doing it again? You also remember the table? When we graphed by table? We did that in here? Right? Okay. If I go to second table, well, it's got all of my table values there. So if I want to know what happens at 4 hours online, well, there it is. If I want to know what happens at 10 hours online, there it is.
At 13 hours, you get a -4.
Yep. You do so bad that we're just going to tell you to quit. Yep. Now, I can go further with this, too. Another thing to write down. I know this is a lot of front loading. This is a lot of calculator stuff. We're going to use it all semester. Everyone, if you will, look right above window. Table settings. I'll write this part down too. But if I hit table settings, I can tell my table where to start. I can tell it what to go by. So I can say start at 50, go by tens. Start at 1.6, go by tenths. I can also say my independent variable, remember that's my x's, switch that over to ask instead of auto. Why would I want to do that? If I go back to the table now, it's blank. But now I can ask it whatever I want. If I spend 2 hours online, what do I get? If I spend 6 hours online, what do I get? If I spend 10.5 hours online, what do I get? Okay? It just answer. Now imagine, right now this is with a line. Imagine what happens when I have this. What happens when that's my equation? Do you really want to type in parentheses 10.5 each of those times and then do it again and then do it again and then do it again? Or you can have that stored in Y1, come over here to the ask table and then just say 10, yep, 35, yep, answer. You're going to get good with these things this semester. Kids walk out of my room knowing how the calculator works. Okay? So, to get there, a couple of things that we have yet to write down. We had to enter data. To enter data, it was stat, calculate, edit. Or no, it was stat edit, sorry. I'm thinking too many things here. Stat edit. If I want to make the stat plot, make scatter plot. Second, y equals plot on, check your lists. Check your info. Make sure that you're the right lists, it's the right type of graph, all that kind of stuff. If I want to see my scatter plot, either you're going to do zoom stat, or you can go window and you can manually change it. If I'm trying to make the perfect equation, I'm going to stat, calculate, whichever type of blank regression I want. This is going to work for a bunch of other stuff this semester. And while I'm in there, I'm going to want to store the equation. You're going to have to do the whole variables, the function, or no, variables y's function. Y to the whatever you choose. And then, what was this last one? The table settings. If C specific value, we would go second, right above window is table settings. Switch independent to ask. Then second table. Or not table, it's graph. Whew! Yep. That is a lot of stuff. Tell you what, how about I just screenshot it and set it on Remind right now? Okay? Now remember, it's open notes too. So, y'all, I want you to have this written down. All of that is on my holy sheet for this chapter. I want you to know that. No. Come on, Frank. Come on, Frank. Keep up. Whew, this thing's running slow. Save. Wow, you're slow. Save to the desktop for now. Make this go away. Go to Remind. Go to Algebra 2. Tell me at least one of your teachers has made the horrible joke. Algebra, the subject with weapons of math instruction. No, it's bad. It's really bad. Photo. Come on, Frank, you ancient POS. There we go. Skadoosh. There we go. So, we've got all the stuff. We've gone through it 3 times now. Y'all gotten on, if you have your phone handy, if you're using your phone or laptop, you should have it right in front of you. I'm still going to wait a minute because I know some of you are writing it down right now. That's cool. Okay, what the bejesus is this? That is so cool. Where'd you get that?
Amazon. It was like $5.
What is it?
It's a bunch of different types of sticky notes and stuff. Oh, these ones keep falling off.
Alexis would love that.
I have one.
That is glorious. I'm buying one. It makes the little leprechaun on my shoulder who yells at me, "It has to be this way!" Very, very happy. I'm going to get one of those. Okay. We cool? Whether you have it on your phone or you got it written down? Speak now or forever hold your pieces. I can't undo when I erase. All right. Yay, nay, Brooke? Okay. So, I'm going to run through one more time. You all have the steps in front of you. Follow along with them, and then I'm going to set you loose. Florida, median home prices. Did we talk in here a little bit about like median versus average? No? You remember measures of central tendency? Mean, median, and mode? Okay. What is mean? Average. Add them up, divide by how many there are. What is median? But I need to make sure they're in order from least to greatest to get to the middle. And then mode is whatever happens most. Measure of central tendency is supposed to be a number that is typical of your data set. The reason they use median an awful lot is because someone can throw off average, mean, way easily. How many times have you had you checking your grade right before a midterm, right before Spartan time list comes out, and you get that one test? And it's just like, whomp, right? Because one thing affects you as an average, or however they weight their grades. If I were to say the average home value in spearfish, it's going to be artificially inflated because the median and the average are nowhere close to each other because Snob Hill and the Canyon, all those people got way more money, like ridiculous money. Like, why aren't you volunteering or doing charity donations money? Okay? Stop going to Costa Rica and help humanity kind of money. Okay? When they say Florida median home prices, they say it for a reason. Because the median is the true indicator of the typical home. Now take a look at those. 23,000 up to 105,000 60 years later. I guarantee you just in the last 21 years that's doubled or tripled again. Prime example. I bought my house. I'm outside of Bell, just off the highway. Decent sized house, little bit of space, not a lot. I mean, I can still walk 20 yards this way and I'm in my neighbor's yard. 189,000 when I bought it. Because the improvements that we've made and the intervening 6 years of increase in property value last year, it was assessed at 254. Just in 6 years. Do you know what's going to happen this year? How many people have been moving here? Okay. So, those home values are going to skyrocket. Now, can we input the data? I want to put a little asterisk next to this, if you would please. Whenever you have years, please start at 0 or a convenient number. Not 1940. Why would I not want to start at what?
Oh, can we just say 1900?
That's what I mean by a convenient number, right? Why would I not want to put in 1940, 1950, 1960? Think about the y-intercept. Y-intercept is always when x equals 0, right? What would x equals 0 represent if I started putting in 1940, 1950, 1960?
It would be really like
0 years. It would go back to the year 0. And the model would make stupid no sense. It would say that in the year 0, Florida had to pay you $9 trillion for you to get a house. It would make no sense at all. So we don't start at 1940. Instead, most of the time the book's going to, either going to say this is 0, in which case, what would the rest of it be? I would state, let X equal years since 1940. So I wouldn't put in 1940, 1950, so on. I'd put in 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. That's what the book is usually going to do. Could we do what Harrison said? Could I say years since 1900? So then I'm putting in what? 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 2010 would be 110. 2020 would be 120. Okay, which do you think makes more sense before I go typing stuff? The second one? Harrison makes sense? Hey, how many times do you hear that? Right? So, I'm going to say years since 1900, which makes that an easy fix. Okay, now, stat. Oh, I got all this stuff in here. I can reset the whole thing, or I can go clear all lists. Second memory, clear all lists. Because if I clear the list, my list 1 and 2 are blank now. My stat plot is still on. And when I go and find my line, I'll just replace Y1. Nice and quick. Okay? So, walk me through again. How am I putting this data in? Stat.
Edit.
Stat edit. Start typing. Okay. I'll see if Frank is up to speed now. So, you enter data, I'll enter data, and I'm going to see if Frank will actually work here. All right, so what is that? We said since 1900, so we're starting at 40. Oh, come on. 4. Yeah. Okay, y'all heard me beating the crap out of this calculator. It registered none of the zeros. God, I hate Frank. I have to go so slow. Okay. 23,100, 4,0,1,0,0, 5,8,1,0,0, 5,7,6,0,0. 5,7,6,0,0. 8,9,3. I apologize. This normally does not take this long for me to put things in. Frank is just so slow this year. All right. So slow. Okay. I have data input. I want to see a scatter plot of it. Where? Second. Right above y equals a stat plot. My plot 1 is still on from last time because I only cleared out my lists. But I would go in there, make sure that plot 1 is on, make sure it's the right lists. Okay. How do I see that stat plot? I can manually change my window if I want. I can say we are going from the year, well, I could go all the way back to 1900. Or you did that? Okay. So I'll say 0 is just the year 1900. because that's what we were doing with our x. And we're going to go out to, how far do we want to go out then? Well, this is 2021. Maybe I want to go a little further than that because I want to extrapolate and see what happens in another 20 years. Maybe you're going to move to Florida. I don't know. So I'm going to go out to 140. Now that's what I'm doing. You don't have to. I'm doing this so I can see further back from 1940 and further ahead of 2000, which is also how old this book is. And we'll go by tens. Okay. Well, I'm guessing that a house is not going to be worth less than 0. Although sometimes that happens. Someone, they foreclose on the house, they lose the house. The house is such a piece of crap that no one wants to buy it. So you get to buy the house and the property it's on for just the taxes owed. Like I've seen rental companies that'll do that, or property companies. They'll say, this house is now owned by the government because the person who lived there couldn't even pay their taxes. So I'm going to pay their taxes. Now I get their house and their land. I'm going to demolish the house and build a new one. So that's a thing, but we're not going to have a house less than 0. What was the highest that our data went? 105,000. And the housing market's kind of crazy, so maybe I'll go out to 180, 120, 150. I don't know. I'm throwing out numbers here. 1, 2, 3, and we'll go by 10,000s. 1, 2, 3. Right? Because then that'd be 15 notches. Yeah, that works. So you can manually change your window. You'll see this right down here. What is that? No. My line is still in here from the last problem. I haven't rewritten it yet. The last line that only had a slope of like 7, it's way down here. That's what that is. So don't think that I broke the calculator or something. Okay? The line from last time is still here. I'm going to get rid of that. There we go. Okay. So I can manually change things like this, or what's the easier way? Zoom. If my stat plot is on, zoom to my statistics. Okay. Yo, I'm betting that's not supposed to be there. I'm betting that Frank done missed a 0 again. So this is another way to make sure that your data and everything's accurate. I'm going to go back to stat, edit. I'm pretty sure that didn't magically change to 10,500. Okay, that look better? Cool, I got a graph. How do I get the line? Walk me through. You all wrote down the steps, or I got the picture. Stat. Calculate before I get to the variable thing. Linear regression. Okay, now, how do I store it? I can use variables, the y's, the function. I want to rewrite that y1. Or if you're packing a TI-84, where's your shortcut? Alpha. Okay, alpha, this whole top row brings up different shortcuts. It's alpha trace. Okay. All right, I'll calculate. It'll find me a line. And I'm going to come all the way back here and write my answer. Y is approximately 1406.07 x minus 31039.29. You notice right above that I have x is years since 1900. Why is mine different? Is mine different?
Mine's different than yours.
Uh-oh. Y'all seen me fighting with Frank here. Let me go to stat, edit, edit. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Check the other list.
Last one on the second list is 10550.
1055?
Yeah. 500.
Oh, so, okay, so it was an awful lot.
No,
Just,
a little bit.
okay. Friggin' Frank. All right, now stat. Calculate. One variable stats. Do 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 boot do.
Yeah, that's
Okay. All right, just making sure. Now, I've got the thing. Write down the actual correct equation here. And then it says, what is an equation that represents? When you write that equation, please make sure to write x is years since whatever. Make sure you say that. Because if you don't say that, I just got a random x and I don't know what it means. Okay? Use your equation to predict the home price in 2020. All right, we went through that too. We all know that we can just put in what for x? Not 20. 120 because we went years since 1900. So I could just type this equation but put x as 120. How can I do it in the calculator instead?
Mine came out wrong, and I like double checked all the numbers and everything. And yeah, like I don't know why it's what's wrong.
I don't know why it's wrong.
And Harrison even checked the numbers too.
Okay.
He didn't see anything either.
Stat, edit, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Right here you have 4,100 instead of 41,000. Okay, so how do I find it? Two places. I can find it on the graph or a table. Okay, I'll go in the graph. Now this graph right now is zoomed in specifically to my data set. So my window does not go out to the year 2020, it goes out to the year 2006. So I would have to change my window a little bit. I don't know, just go out a little bit more. The emulator's never been this slow either. Like the emulator itself is running slow. I can trace, not my stat plot, up or down. We'll switch to the graph and I'll go out 120 years, which is the year 2020. 138,000 and change.
How do you get it so it doesn't say quit?
Do it right.
So I got it on the line, and then one. Oh. Oh, tree. Wait. So trace.
Arrow down. Okay. Because your window, go to, it says, hey, you can't do that number because your window only goes out to 2006.
Oh, I see.
Your window needs to be big enough. That's why the graph one, look, it's great and all, but if your window isn't big enough, you can't do it. What's the other way through the table? Second, right above graph is table. Now remember, if I'm back at table settings, come on, Frank, let's go. Faster, faster, faster. If I'm back at a regular table on auto, it's going to auto-populate this starting at 0. I do not want to scroll all the way to 120. So I go second, right above window is my table settings. Now I can just tell it to start at 120 and it'll jump to that. Or I'm going to switch my X's over to ask. That sounds like the plot of a chick flick movie. Like someone goes and asks all of their exes why they dumped them. That sounds familiar. No.
I don't know how to get that.
I don't either. I'd have to play with it. Like, it's been 10 years since I played with Cassiographers. I'm sorry. But if you wander down during Spartan time, I can play with it with you, and we can check. But here I could just type in 120. That was a 10. There we go. So I can also go further. Let's say you are going to move to Florida and buy a house in another... Okay, maybe you're going to do the next awesome startup. You are going to replace TikTok. Good job. Get that just trash bin out of here. Okay? You made something better. You're a billionaire. You're going to go to Florida for some reason. And in 19 years from now, you're going to retire at the ripe age of, what would that be? 25, 35, 35. Okay? The median home price is 166,000. Now, if you did that, you probably wouldn't buy that particular house. You'd probably get something that you could skateboard through, but yeah. Yeah, you can't do that. That is possible. Find shallow area and you bring in your own construction equipment to fill it and you make an island. There are artificial islands are a thing. I vacationed on one. Disney owns them. Yeah, we did a Disney Hell Cruise. So, the only vacation I've ever done in my life. There's a bunch of buttons. There's a bunch of stuff. Now the question is, can you do it start to finish? What do you want to do? The rest of them are all this same thing. Do you want to do California prices? Do you want to do cost of milk? Cost of milk sounds stupid. Let's do that one. Do you want whole milk or 2%?
Whole. 2%.
Fight!
2%.
Let's take a vote. Let's take a vote.
All right. I'm going to go with whole milk because it's no longer in the house and I miss it. So, do you know that kids aren't supposed to switch to 2% milk until they're 2 years old? Okay. Like they need the higher fat content in it for nutrition. So, but cost of whole milk. Hey, before you go dumping data in, clear. You know what? Just reset the whole thing. Start at scratch. Second plus 7, enter 2. Second plus 7, enter 2. Reset the whole honking thing. Okay. Jace wiped his memory again. And then Just so we all have the same thing, where do you want to start?
1990.
Years since 98, years since 90. Okay.
Twos. It's going by twos.
Okay, you two are arguing too much. Someone in the middle.
95.
Yeah, that's what
I like Jacobs.
What was Jacob?
Start from 1990, because then it's 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. It's still nice numbers, but you're starting from a nice clean 1990. So let's all do that. Let X equal years since 1990. All right, start to finish. I want everyone to be able to answer questions A and B. Can you do it start to finish? Yes, ma'am.
So I did where you can type in the number and then it'll tell you the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's only giving me one of the points that I ever typed. And even then, that one
Because
takes forever.
that's different. Okay, don't switch your dependent over to ask.
Okay.
There we go. Because
Someone did show up. It just took like 2 minutes to show up.
yeah, because it reverse calculates it, like it solves the equation. Yeah, don't do that. I will say though that you just discovered something cool. I've never seen the dependent ask actually do anything. I've never seen it do anything. So, okay, see if you can finish it. Start to finish, from input all the way to using the model. Can you do the whole thing? Hi, POS. And really, everyone, thank you for being patient with this and the process. And it's a lot to learn at first. You're going to be pros with this. Like, you will be good at this. I also know that some of our other Algebra 2 teachers do not go as heavy on the calculator use. They just have kids do it by hand. So feel free to show your neighbors, show other kids. I have a older video where I go through this in kind of a turbo version. It's like a 4.5 minute video where I go through this on the TI-84 and then at the end show you what's different on 83. I'll link that on Remind today too. Go ahead and show that to whoever needs it. It works in Algebra 2. We use it in pre-calc. You will use the bejesus out of it when you get to stats.
For the equation, that is 20.
Oh, looks like some of these need to be charged.
Yeah.
Okay. Confirm for me. This is recently reset. Okay.
I got .086. I don't know. Yeah, because I have you started at 8, right?
No.
Okay, so just plug in.
Yay or nay? Years since 1990? 30 years?
I don't know. I did this
Oh, okay. Who got 468? 467.5, technically. Okay.
How do I do the thing where I can put like X in and then see the value?
Second, table settings. Make sure this is on ask.
Where at? Which one?
Independent, because that's your X's.
Okay.
Now if I go to my table.
Oh, I can see this now.
Yep.
So I will.
Okay. Said you're going to get good with it. I started with a blanked out screen, went from absolutely nothing to the graph and the answer, minute and 5 seconds. You're going to get good with this because we use it in multiple chapters. Will you get that fast? No, you're not teaching it. But could you do the whole problem in 3 or 4 minutes? Yeah, easy. Okay. So I'll walk through. I start with a blank calculator. How do I get data in there? I type stuff, I make sure it's right. Okay, I got stuff. What if I wanted to go straight to the model? I didn't even want to see it on the screen. I just want to see the model. Just make the equation. Straight for the throat. Stat, calculate. Linear regression. Make sure you're on the right lists. How do I store it so I don't have to think? Variables. I'll do it that way since everyone's got at least a 83. The y's, the function, y1. And then I calculate and it tells me stuff. Come on, Frank. Everyone got it? You write down your equation. This didn't actually tell me to graph anything, did it? It just says, what's the best fit line? Just this. Now, if I want to answer the question, in the year 2020, what's milk going to cost? What do? I can change my table settings to either start where I want it to or... Come on, you. God, this thing's... I can just hear one of you yelling into a headset. Dude, it's not my fault. It's lagging. Okay, what do I put in?
30.
30, because the year 2020 is 30 years after 1990. About $4.68 a gallon, which it was that bad for a while, but it came back down. Okay, I'm going to address one last thing. How accurate is your line of best fit?
Very
accurate.
No, there's an actual number.
Oh.
Another set of things to add. Another set of keystrokes to add. Okay? If you're on a TI-84, it's super easy. If you got a TI-84 in front of you, hit mode. You come down here and turn your stat diagnostics on. That's it. Come on, Frank. You're killing me, dude. Ugh. Okay. So if you have a TI-84, it's just mode, stat diagnostics on. That's it. If you have a TI-83, it's going to be a little more involved than that. Another thing to write down. Because that's not in your mode settings, you're going to have to go all the way into the catalog. Y'all see right above 0 it says catalog? Yeah. Second, catalog. This is a list of everything the calculator can do. It's long. I want to jump straight down to the D's to turn diagnostics on. Look right above this reciprocal button. See in letters under alpha, it's D. If you just hit that button, it'll jump down to the D's. I'll scroll down just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to turn my diagnostics on. Okay. It's not fun. I wish there was a faster way on the 83s, but I haven't found one. So it's going to be second catalog, which is 0. D, which is your reciprocal button. Diagnostics on. Now, all this does is it adds one little thing at the end of that regression answer. Now, look at what's different when I go back and calculate my regression model. Okay, I don't need to store it, it's already there. Come on, Frank. See how it's got some extra numbers after it now? Okay. That R squared, or R2 value, that's the fit of my line as a percentage. An 84.5% fit is not the greatest. If I were to turn my stat plot on, plot one on, zoom. Oh, come on, you laggy son of a... If I zoom to my statistics, you ancient piece. You see how stuff isn't like right up on the line. It's kind of hit and miss on either side. When I get that r squared value, it's telling me that this is about an 85% fit line. It's not the greatest. Generally, you want like a good model is 95% plus. Think about it this way. Would you like me walking around like some of the girls in the school and only covering 85% of my body? I'm pretty sure no one wants me walking around like that down the hallway, okay? You probably want a better fit than that, right? Okay, and get that image out of your head, okay? Poor Kaylin, who works at the pool at Bell and has to be a lifeguard when I take my kids there, okay? That r squared value, when you come back here and it says how accurate is your line of best fit, you write down that r coefficient. It's called a correlation coefficient. It says that mine is about, what was it, 84 point something? Okay. That's how good this line fits. It covers 84.5% of my data.
No, 87. Oh wait, that's a 4. I just have really bad vision. My bad.
I wrote the 4 kind of squishy. I've seen some kids write their 9s like that. So, but that was one last thing that we hadn't gone through yet is how to turn that correlation coefficient on. Y'all, every time you reset your calculator, that's gone. It defaults to having the diagnostics off. So that's why it's better to clear the lists instead of just stab it in the back and reset. That's why I want you to know all these buttons so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Okay. If I remember right, I think the Casios, if it's already there, right? The Casios are so good. Okay. Y'all take a couple minutes, take a breather. Like, we're done. I don't want to do any more. I just want you to get a moment of zen before the bell rings because that's a lot of button pushing. That's a lot of stuff. Okay? Are we at least feeling a little more like less overwhelmed than yesterday? At the end of yesterday it was what are we even doing? But now after seeing it again and walking through, we're like, okay, as long as I got my steps here, I'll be all right. That's where I want you to be. If I have my steps, I'll be all right. Okay. When you come back on Monday, daily quiz, review, weekly quiz. That means this stuff is going to be on there. It's just going to be a problem with a table. It's not going to be a lot of data points. It shouldn't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes tops. Okay? One problem. But it will be on there. Oh yeah, you have your homework is not big. If I remember right, I only had like 3 or 4 total on there. Let me see. There. Wow, it just straight up froze. Oh my God, Frank, I hate you. Come on. Let me double check and just make sure your homework's not egregious. I know y'all missed the pain and misery of the dial-up years, but this is getting close. Come on now. Oh, it's right here. 4 problems. That's it. They're all. I don't know if they're all make a model or not. One of them might be just talking about correlation. I know for sure that I think you only have to make one graph. The rest are just do it all on the calculator. Okay.